Alexis, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, John. I'm excited to be here. My name is Alexis Morgan. I'm the founder of Peach State Capital Group, which is a private lending company out of Atlanta, Georgia. I like money, I like finance, and I like doing it with cool people.
I like that you said that you like money because that is I mean, myself included, the relationship with money and wanting to make money is always like a struggle. Does it mean I'm being greedy? I don't think so. It's just like a number, right? It's all it is.
That's right.
But yeah, I really wanted to get to know your story because the way that I found out about you is I remember you were on one of the, I think Sub 2 family nights a long time ago when I first joined back in June of 22. And you were talking about struggling to build a team because just people weren't consistent. And you were, I think, door knocking,
Yeah,
right?
that's
Yeah,
right.
you were trying to build a door knocking team, and then at that point, I know a lot of people talk about your age, but I can't imagine going and door knocking at 18, 19, however old you were. And to hear how you have already been established, or you had already been established, and then trying to build a team and trying to find people that were at your level in terms of work ethic, that was really impressive. So, can you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into real estate?
Yeah, of course. So I got into real estate through YouTube University, right? I didn't know anyone in real estate. I grew up and I thought I was always going to be, like a surgeon or a physical therapist or an engineer. I did like all those things, but my junior year of high school, coronavirus hit. Coronavirus changed so many lives. I think in all the right ways, and of course we lost a lot of people. So some people all the wrong ways, but I do believe that it was a big wake up call for a lot of people. And for me, during that time, I was raised to always be in a growth mindset, always be looking for the next way to expand and to grow and to, add value to myself and to the world. And so during that time, I wasn't just sleeping all day and relaxing. I was kind of figuring out, what can I do with this time? And a big part of that was learning and reading and practicing self development. So I got into real estate by number one, the algorithm, but the algorithm found me. The algorithm placed me into real estate related content because I was researching a lot of self development. One of the first books I ever read that kind of put me on this path was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And
Mhm.
I'm a big reader, and this summer of 2021, I think, maybe the summer of 2020 even, yeah, summer of 2020, I had finished my fiction book, and I was at my dad's house for the summer, so I couldn't just go to the library near my house. I went to his little library in his office, and there it was on the shelf, Think and Grow Rich, and I was like, well, I want to be rich. I want to see what this book is about. I just have to think, and I'll be rich. So I pulled that book off the shelf. I read it, in record speed. I probably finished it in 2 days, and I was just obsessed. I was like, oh wow, like there's so much more out there than what my little mind was thinking was possible. And I continued to read books about self development and success and achieving things. And all the while, I came across Rich Dad Poor Dad. That was like somehow recommended to me. And once I read that, I was sold that real estate was the way to make money, make real money without having to work. Then I read books like 4 Hour Work Week. I read books like How to Win Friends and Influence People. It just took me down this whole path of self development, success, finance, um, influence, all those things. And through that, I started watching on YouTube Jerry Norton. So I was a junior in high school. Nothing was too serious, and I didn't have the confidence. I had the knowledge, but I didn't have the confidence to execute on all the things that I was learning at that time. So I finished out high school. I decided to stick to my original plan, which was to go to school and get a degree. And I graduated in 2021. And that summer, I went to Georgia Tech. I took an offer. I had a scholarship to Georgia Tech. So I was like, all right, great. This is a great school. I'm going to be an engineer. But that summer when I went to college, something about it wasn't sitting right. It's like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but you got everything that you thought you wanted and you realize this is not really it. This is not
Mhm.
really it. Like, I am not fulfilled. I'm not happy. And so I went to school that summer and I was like, this isn't it. But still, I was struggling with the confidence to make decisions that other people wouldn't approve of. So I stayed from July of 2021 all the way to December of 2021 in school. And those few months were some of the hardest times that I've had with myself because I was taking actions every day that were not in alignment with what I truly believed was fruitful. Not in alignment with what I truly believed I wanted. Not in alignment with the future that I wanted. Just not in alignment at all with who I wanted to be. So it was very tough. Um, and finally, in November or December of 2021, I just decided I'm going to take a leave of absence. And so I'm a dropout now. I don't like publicize that. At the time, it was way less intense. I was like, I'm just going to take a semester off.
Yeah.
So I took a semester off. January 2022, I started working for a wholesale company that was doing really well. And I'm grateful for that experience because that experience taught me really the basics of real estate. It taught me how to sell, it taught me how to negotiate, how to comp properties, how to understand what I was looking at. And then most importantly, I got exposure to so many different profiles of humans in such a short amount of time. I was at that company 3 months and I was on the phone from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. daily with sellers. And I was able to learn how to change the way that I speak in order to have someone understand me and know, like, and trust me enough to sell their largest asset to me for pennies on the dollar. It was not an easy skill to develop, but I'm grateful that I did it. I'm grateful for the experience. So I was 3 months there, left that job, took my $13,000 in commissions, and I joined Sub 2 to do my own thing in real estate. That's how it all began.
I mean, that's a incredible journey so I didn't realize that COVID hit while you were still in high school.
Yep.
But the fact that because I went through the same thing, but I was also a lot older, so I had more life experience. And just going through COVID saying, okay, well, we're either going to come out of this better or worse. And so for you to realize that at such a young age, I mean, it's just very impressive. And then a question about the way you grew up, because the growth mindset is not something that I grew up with. Like I had to develop that recently. Um, what is it that your parents did to help you just foster that type of mindset when you're younger?
Yeah, one of the main things, like my mom, she was a teacher when before I was born, and then after that I was born, she's a consultant. But she has a PhD in education, and so with her background as an English teacher, I mean, you think about it, teachers they work during the school year, and during the summer they take off.
Mhm.
Kids, students during the school year they work and they get their grades, and during the summer they go off on vacation. And
Yeah.
we vacation, don't get me wrong, we had lots of fun, but even during the summer, there was always assignments for me and my brother. There was always, how are we going to come back to the school year more advanced than we left it? It was not like
Right.
this large, oh, finally, the work's, there was never a point where the work was over. And so we
Mhm.
were raised with this mindset of the work's not done when someone tells you it's done. It's done when you have beat the last version of yourself. It's done when you have advanced as an individual. It's done, it's, and that's crazy because it's never done then. If that's the
Right.
focus thing, it's never done, right?
Yeah.
But I was kind of brought up with this mindset that you want to continue to develop yourself. You want to continue to learn, and the day you stop learning is the day you start dying, really. And then that's on my mom's side. On my dad's side, my dad was an entrepreneur, not in real estate, but he was in the motorcycle business. And so similarly, there was no points where we really just kicked our feet up. It was like, if we have a day off, we're going to do the invoicing and the billing at the office rather than just like going and
Mhm.
we had a lot of fun, don't get me wrong, but there's these little things you don't realize until you're older that kind of shape you into who you are. There weren't days where there was a lot of like relaxation. The relaxation that existed was playing some good music in the office and taking care of things that you couldn't take care of when customers were walking through the door. So like
Right.
organizing the shelves, or again doing some of the billing and the invoicing. So those experiences really shaped me, and I think my mindset looking back on them.
Okay. Yeah, that's super helpful because for us, it's always like, okay, well, we have to try to teach it with our words, but it's taught through action.
Yes, 100%,
Yeah.
100%.
Okay. So then December of 21, you decide to take a leave of absence, and then how do you even find this wholesale company to work with?
Yeah, so I was taking a leave of absence, and remember, my mom has a PhD in education, so she was not very happy about this. So I knew
Mhm.
that there was not going to be a lot of time where this decision was okay without significant success being, result of
Yeah.
it.
Mhm.
So the week after I dropped out, immediately I just Googled. I did a quick Google search. Google is your friend. I don't think people utilize Google enough. They want to hop on calls or they want to do this or do that. Just freaking use the internet. It's an amazing resource.
Mhm.
So I Googled real estate meetup near me. I lived in Orlando at the time, and I just went to the first one that I saw. So this RIA, these are real estate associations that are all over the country. This RIA was having a Christmas party, and I was like, all right, great, I'm gonna go to this Christmas party. I walk in, I walk in at the front desk, super nice, older lady sitting there writing, checking people in. I'm like, hi, I'm Alexis. It's my first meeting. I want to wholesale. This is what I was watching on YouTube. I want to wholesale at
Mhm.
a high level. Who in this room should I be talking to? And this point I want to highlight because I've always tried to find cheat codes or shortcuts, and
Mhm.
people sometimes don't like that. I think this you work smarter, you don't work harder. So I didn't want to go to that Christmas party, shake everyone's hand, and leave empty-handed. I knew what I wanted out of it, and I asked the lady at the front desk who was checking people in, who should I be talking to? Point out to me the people that I need to talk to and not leave tonight without shaking hands with and rubbing shoulders with. So she pointed out a few people to me, and one of those people was the individual I started working for, and that's how I got to know them. And I just I networked. They weren't hiring at the time, but I had already started driving for dollars and generating some leads, and I was telling him, hey, I have these leads. I don't know what to do with them. I don't know how to talk to these people. Can you help me? And he offered some advice. And then after I bombed those appointments, I was like, I didn't do well. Here's what I'm struggling with. We settled on, okay, come to my office. Maybe you could be a salesperson here. And I'm fortunate enough to have gotten the opportunity and done well while with that role while I was in it.
Yeah, you were fortunate, but you also made it happen too. I mean, you went to this, you had a goal, right? And then you did networking with intention, and then you just made that opportunity appear. Like they already said no, but you were already working. And again, like I guess you can call it luck, but I would just say like you put yourself in that position.
100%.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, another thing is when I got started in real estate, I was like 37, right? So then I had already built up this career where I had done really well. So I had this ego of, well, if I can figure this out, then I can figure out real estate. But looking back, I would much rather go and work for someone else, learn, get that shortcut, and then be in a much better spot than I am now. So that's another like really good point too. It's underrated, like working for someone else.
Yep, and that was what I in the beginning. That's why I was willing. I tell people all the time. That's why I was willing to do it. The most important thing in the beginning is not how much you make. It's the knowledge. You have to be learning so much so that you can make money. You can't make anything unless you know something. And so the first year, I would go as far as to say maybe even 2 years. Even still now, I value learning from someone more than I value making the best amount of money. I'll take a haircut on what I'm making if I feel like I'm absorbing a lot of knowledge.
Yeah, I'm just now like 4.5 years in. I'm finally figuring that out. So kudos to you for figuring that out way earlier. Okay, so then you do that, and then you work for 3 months with the company, and then how do you branch off on your own?
So wholesale is a very low barrier to entry business. So
Hmm.
once I learned, it's not that I left, but I started doing some deals on my own, and that obviously is a conflict of interest for the company. So we just
Hmm.
sat down, had a conversation. I was like, okay, I'm gonna branch off, and I took my commissions from there. And I think in April, I left the company in March. In April, I joined Sub Two because I was still in need of a community, a mentorship in a
Hmm.
way. I learned a lot, but I was still on my own. So I joined that community, just fell into the YouTube funnel there, and then I started networking with individuals inside of there and trying to get a grasp on what was going to be my next thing. And how I actually got into door knocking was I was on these calls and I was telling people, hey, I only have 13 grand. Like I can't be spending 5 grand to set up my cold callers.
Hmm.
Like I need to save money. but I'm really, really good at selling. Like I had made this commissions because I closed over 30 deals for this company in 3 months.
Uh,
So I was like, I'm really good at selling. I can close deals as long as I can get to talk to people, but I can't spend the money for marketing to get to talk to people. So what should I do? And then someone, I can't remember exactly who, told me, you should be door knocking. Like that's free leads. They have to sell. If you can get them you can't get them on the phone. They're pre-foreclosures. They never answer the phone. But if you're willing to go out and talk to them in person, you'll do great. So I was like, all right, great. That's one thing about me. I am never, ever, ever too embarrassed to do things that most people won't do. And I'm never embarrassed to say that I don't know something. So when I got that advice, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. It didn't occur to me that I was 18, that I was just a young girl. Like I was just an action taker. And so
right.
I probably will look back at myself now and say, it didn't occur to me that I was just a 21-year-old girl. I'll probably have this habit go on for the rest of my life. But when people give me advice, especially people who I feel like are qualified to provide the advice, I take it. And so they said, you should be door knocking. I started door knocking, and one of my first deals door knocking, I made 48 grand. And this was like less than 3 months in of like practicing the door knocking, talking to sellers, getting things under contract, etc. And that's how I really made it through that year 2022 was door knocking foreclosures. And that's how I avoided the conversation of going back to school. Because, when you bring a $48,000 check home or even a $13,000 check home, for people who work at W-2, they're like, whatever you're doing, it's working, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. So your mom was finally cool with it?
I don't know that she was cool with it, but she definitely started to come around. She didn't ask
Yeah.
me, when are you going back? Because I was doing stuff that was working.
Right. Okay, so you started door knocking, and then you and I met at the last mastermind for Sub 2 in Phoenix, I
Mm.
think
Yeah.
2023. So at that point, you had already been wholesaling. Were you still wholesaling? I mean, were you still door knocking at that point?
Yeah, so so at this point, this is late 2022. So at this point, I was networking a lot in Sub 2, and I had actually driven up from Orlando, where I lived at the time, to Atlanta to meet one of my business partners here now. And I was just enamored by his presence. He had so much experience, and again, for me, it wasn't how much money can I make, but I was looking to be around someone that I could absorb knowledge for. I was
Hmm.
looking for my alternative college, right? And so when I met him, I was like, this is amazing. I want to be around this energy. What are you doing? And so through 2020, late 2022 to early 2023, I was entertaining doing deals here in Atlanta, providing value to my partner, who's my partner now. But at that point, it was just like a friend or a mentor, or even like, I would almost go as far as to say an idol or an inspiration.
Hmm.
Um, and so we did a deal together, and he was like, "This is great, congratulations! If you move to Atlanta, we could do a lot more deals." And I had a couple $1,000s in my savings from all the wholesaling, and I just moved. 3 days after that, I moved to
Hmm.
Atlanta for the opportunity to be around and listen and learn. So by the time September, the mastermind of Sub 2, I was still door knocking because that's what I knew. I'd built out a door knocking team, but I really started to entertain other ways of doing business. The reason I moved was to learn, and I learned, Alex Hormozy defines learning as changed behavior. So if I moved and I didn't change my behavior, if I didn't change what I was doing every day, I really
Hmm.
didn't learn shit. So
Hmm.
I really tried to absorb what was going on in his world and see where are the other avenues where I can add value and make money. And one of those was lending. And I started to do a little bit of double closes, small, short transactional loans. By the time we met, John, I was involved. I had 1 foot out the door of wholesaling, and I had one
Hmm.
foot in the door of lending. And that was like the strong transitionary period was probably anywhere between August and October of 2023 before I was completely sold that I was going to be in real estate lending.
Gotcha. Okay. So then what do you do with all the leads that you have in the pipeline for the wholesale? Just let them go?
I just let them die.
Yeah.
And that's the thing I think people don't like. I've started to realize the more and more business I do, it's not like I feel bad about these leads, or it's not like I don't value them, but your focus is so expensive.
Hmm.
Your ability to focus on one thing is so expensive. And some people say I don't have time. I wouldn't even say that I don't have time. It's not that the time is going to distract me, it's the energy inside of my head. if I'm thinking
Mm.
about two things or three things or four different businesses rather than just one, it's not that I don't have time to do them all. It's how much how much energy can I pour in? How much focus can I pour into this thing? And so those old leads, when I decided I was going to be a lender, when I decided I was going to start a fund, there was no amount of money that was worth the focus that it would take to chase those leads down and monetize off of them.
Yeah, I really love that because I mean, I'm sure most people have this where they like to do a lot of different things, just the way that we've grown up, and all the technology that we have around us. But I always liked having many different things, go on at the same time, but also realizing that it's a huge energy suck. You might be able to do it, you might be able to do like okay with it, but if you just
Yeah.
focus on one thing, you're going to be so much better off, and it's going to be a lot less stress and just not as draining as trying to do many things at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about like when people are juggling, the more balls there are, the harder it is. If you just have
Yeah.
one ball, like it's very easy to
Yeah.
maintain and you can go as fast as you want and you can do some cool tricks. Like, but if you have four different things in the fire, it's a
Yeah.
little harder for sure.
Yeah. So then you get into lending, and then even within lending, there's so many different ways to make money. So how do you figure out which one you're going to focus on, and then what activities you're going to focus on?
Yeah, these are great questions. So when I jumped into lending, I initially started doing these 24-hour loans where the money stays in escrow, super protected. Yeah, I made a couple $1,000s off of each one, and that was fun. But I didn't see that it was absolutely scalable. You know, deal flow
Mm.
was unpredictable. It was far and few in between, and I was doing maybe 5 to 7 every single month at that time. But I knew that if I wanted to make this like, you know, I stopped wholesaling largely because number one, if my actions didn't change, that means I learned nothing. But number two, the important thing I realized about wholesaling is that I couldn't identify a wholesale company that was doing more than $15 million a year in revenue, not in profit,
Mm.
in revenue. And so my goal has always been to build a big business and maybe sell it one day. And so in lending, when I went into this opportunity, I had the same, I had the same view and the same lens. And I knew if I wanted to build something that was going to gross, 100, 200, $300,000 a month, $400,000 a month, that was probably not going to be continuing to be the short 24-hour loans that I was doing. That was fun, but it was
Mm.
like fun money. It wasn't like this is a great business money. And that's my
Yeah.
goal. I want to build
Mm.
something great. I want to build something big and have a team and a company that I'm proud of, not just a couple extra dollars in my account. It's never been about that for me, and I don't think it will ever be about that for me. I enjoy the process of building a vision. So when I discovered that the 24-hour loans was not the scalable opportunity, I just kept asking questions. I tried to learn more. I was more curious. And my partner at the time was lending out a lot of his own money. He was actually the one funding all the 24-hour transactions that I found.
Mm.
He was lending out a lot of his own money separate from that. I was just curious. I was like, where else are you lending? What are these deals? What are the other types of loans look like? And one of the biggest opportunities that he told me about was private money loans, traditional private money loans that last around 6 months or 12 months. And so these loans were to fix and flippers. And the rates, instead of 1% in a day, it was more conservative and more affordable for the fix and flipper. It was more like 18% over the course of a year. So 1.5% a month. So with my curiosity, running the math, I was like, okay, great. Well, how much money do you have out on the street? He explained, I typically have about $10 million, deployed into these loans. And I was like, wait
Mm.
a minute. So you're grossing off 10 mil, you're grossing 150,000 every single month, 1.5%. He was like, yep. And I was like, I don't understand. Why aren't you just doing that? Why are you doing anything else? Why not just keep lending? And something very important that he said that kind of um, changed the way that I thought at the time. He said, that's all the money, I would love to loan more, but that's all the money I have to loan out. And at this moment, I had gone to probably 2 dozen events the first year, 2022, the first year I was in real estate. At this moment, I'd probably gone to, I don't know, maybe another 10 or 15. And one of my mentors through going through all these events was Pace Morby. And Pace had said to me, if there was one skill I I wish I learned first, it was how to raise money.
Mhm.
And when I heard this from my business partner now, Abraham, that's all the money he had to lend out, I realized how freaking valuable it is to know how to raise money. No matter how wealthy you are, you the having access to capital empowers you to do bigger things. Look at like some of the biggest people in this world, Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, they still have investors. They still have investors. No matter how wealthy you get, having access to investors and having access to private capital is always going to empower you. So I was like, boom, okay, this is an opportunity to raise money. What I didn't know in that moment is that raising money is just sales, which I was good at,
Yeah.
which I already had the skill of. So it became a fun little game. I joined another mentorship by Bridger Pennington to understand how to structure legally raising money from investors. And then I put together a fund. And from there, it's been a journey of hopping on calls with investors, speaking the language of finance, understanding, what people care about when they're giving you a $300,000 check, and even more recently, a $500,000 check or a $3 million check. It's been a really cool journey to understand, what do investors care about? How does their mind work? Because what I can tell you is it's very different from a real estate operator or a wholesaler. So
Mhm.
I've had to almost remove myself from some environments so that I can start to talk the talk and walk the walk of my target, of all the people that I now spend time with. So that was the ramp up to raising capital. It was in that moment that I realized raising capital was so valuable, and then further down the line, taking action into raising, that I realized it's a relationship and sales role mainly that you're in when you're raising money.
Yeah, just out of curiosity, did you take the Clifton Strengths?
I have taken Clifton Strengths, yeah.
Do you remember the makeup of your top 10?
Yeah, I think I was a lot of orange.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. No, I was a lot of green. Sorry, I was super green, strategic. So,
Really?
but the first one on my Clifton Strengths is learner. It's number one,
Hmm.
learner. Number two is futuristic. Three is strategic. Green and purple. So learner is green, futuristic is green, strategic is green, and four is restorative, which is purple and an executing theme, and five is a ranger, which is purple and an executing theme. So like prioritizing what's important versus what can wait.
Okay, very, very interesting because I mean, when I took it out of my top 10, seven of them are greens. But luckily in my top three, two of them are oranges, which just helps me just like get moving on things.
Yeah.
And so I've struggled with raising capital in the past, and I'm really like focusing on it now because exactly, I mean, exactly what you said when Pace said that one skill, it's always kind of stuck in my mind. I'm a little bit slower when it comes to realizing it and taking action on that part, but yeah, like trying to figure out how to use strategic thinking and analysis to raise money versus emotional relationships, I guess, has been a struggle. So for you, I mean, you've been good at sales. Is it just because you've practiced it so much in that 3 months of just being on the phones, what, 9 to 6 every single day?
Well, when you're on the phone that much, you start to realize that um, there's like a path that people need to go down, and most people want to make decisions by coming to their own conclusions about things. So you start to become a really good asker of questions rather than provider of statements. And so if you can ask
Mm.
good questions that influence the way people answer those questions in their own head, they become excited about what you want them to be excited about.
Wow, yeah.
So that's kind of what that did for me, that experience. And overall, I don't ever want to put someone in a position where they're doing something that's not good for them. And then
Mhm.
with that being said, it's my job to ask really good questions on whether or not this is a good fit. And those questions are more than just, do you have the money to invest, and do you want
Yeah.
to? You know,
Yeah.
Everyone's going to say yes to that. You have to dig into, what are they motivated by? What's the long-term goal? Because the worst thing that you can do is sell somebody something, or get them into a deal that ended up not really serving them. You don't want to ever
Yeah.
sell a product that a client or that an investor is not over the moon about. So I try to really do a good job of discovery, making sure that whoever is coming into my opportunities is really going to enjoy it and they're really going to benefit by being a part of it and feel no remorse or no regret, once the deal is done.
Yeah, it's something that I've heard about sales, and I'm still trying to figure it out. Is you're not selling anybody on anything. You're just helping them align their goals with what you have to offer,
Yeah.
essentially.
Or if, for me, it's even discovering if their goals align with what I have to offer. I'm not trying
Hmm.
to, I never, ever, ever convince anyone that what I have is good for them.
Yeah.
If I discover that what they want is in alignment with what I have to offer, great. Then I'm over the moon about showing them why. But if I
Hmm.
discover that what they want is really not in alignment with what I have to offer, I will try to point them in the right direction.
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
my deals are first position. You said you want to do seconds. Here's who you should talk to do seconds. I think this should probably conclude our call. If I ever
Yeah.
discover that someone wants something different than what I have to offer, I won't try to convince them that mine's better. I'll point them with someone who can help them really.
Yeah. It just reminds me of your capital raising session at the PML Mastermind about a month ago.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess now, what is your biggest struggle at the moment?
Um, Related to lending or just in general?
Just in general.
Right now, I would probably say, that's a good question. I'm not necessarily struggling with anything mainly. It's just, you know, it's it's you, it's just things that take time. I think, in my
Hmm.
opinion, if you can't get 9 women pregnant in a month, 9 women don't have a baby in a month. You plant a seed, it doesn't grow tomorrow, no matter how much you water it. So
Hmm.
I've been just practicing patience for the seeds that I planted a month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago. Like we talked about a little bit before we started recording, I just started posting twice a day. So like
Hmm.
the fruits of that is probably not going to be this month or next month.
Yeah.
But a year from now, the compound on the personal brand there is going to be great.
Yeah.
So the struggle, I don't know that I would define it as struggle. It's just a patience game, and the main thing that I would say I practice often is review. So like I don't want to just do things and not learn from them. I think it takes an equal amount of doing and learning to actually grow. A lot of people do a lot of doing and they never look back at what they did, so they
Hmm.
can never learn from it, and they just keep doing and they wonder why they're in the same spot. A lot of people do a lot of learning and they never take action, they never do, so they never grow. I think if you do an equal amount of both, you get far and you get far fast. So right now it's just the patience of watching the actions and consistently analyzing, are these actions moving the needle or are they not moving the needle? And trying to give a decent enough time horizon in terms of patience to really have enough data to analyze and make a decision.
Yeah, that is been a struggle of mine as well, patience, because I'm wondering why I don't have 5 million raised and I just started like 2 months ago. So it's like yeah, it takes time. And then also posting regularly. For me, being older, it's like social media came in after, and so we have a different view. I mean, I guess I just have a different view of it, but just understand that it is a tool, is it a marketing tool, and you have to use it to survive nowadays. Otherwise, like,
You're dead.
what's the point?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. And it's free too. It's
Yeah.
like, I mean, unless you obviously can hire people and build something out, but it's
Mm,
like free promotion, Like
mm,
if you could play the lottery, forever and it doesn't cost you anything, you're gonna play that thing every day. You're gonna
yeah.
play it as many times. You're gonna take a ticket as many times as you can. And I look at social media that way. It's like, sure, not every video I put out is good. Just like not every lottery ticket you put out is going to be a winner. But the one post you put up that hits 100 views, 100,000
Mm,
views, that
yeah.
post could take you so far in terms of
Yeah.
publicity, in terms of opportunity, etc. So I'm gonna keep placing the bet.
Yeah. And I love that video where you had the stack of cash is always about what the rates are, not how you're doing.
Yeah, I have a stack right here. I try to
Yeah.
keep it there to remind me.
Yeah. Okay, so then you'll run out of time, but I do want to ask you one last thing.
Sure.
Um, what's some like knowing what you know now, what's some advice that you'd give to yourself when you're just getting started?
Like 18, just getting started.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good question. Advice that I would give to myself, advice that I would give the majority of people is you should value learning more than you value making money at the beginning of your career. Advice that I would give to myself is probably to do a lot of due diligence on the character of the people that you work with. I
Mm.
think in the beginning, and even now still a little bit, I've seen a lot of partnerships come and go. I've seen people come in the business and leave the business, and that'll continue to happen as I spend more time in this industry. And it's really interesting because it takes, from what I've seen, it takes almost a year to see who people really are. Anyone can put up a front, anyone can tell you their best story, anyone can tell you about their best deal, but you have to spend time with people. You have to be patient so that people can show you who they are with their actions. And so if I had something that I would tell myself when I was just getting started is, don't jump into things. Don't get married on the first date. Spend time with
Mm.
people and really be careful about who you are spending time with and deciding to go into business with. Because having a business is just like having a baby. It takes partners to make it work. It takes an investment. It takes a shared vision of where you want it to go. So that's probably what I would share with myself as an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah, I mean that's amazing advice. I've seen again, I'm with you where I've seen a lot of people come and go, and people get caught up in the hype and they say, "Oh, this person's doing amazing things," but come to find out they're not doing it the right way.
Yep.
So yeah, that is I love that advice.
Something I heard from Patrick Bet David, he was like, anyone could be successful for a year, anyone could be successful for 3 years, even five, he said. But after 10 years, you see who the real players are, and then
Mhm.
even 20, you see who the real players are, and you see who is just there putting up a front.
Yeah, yeah, I love it. Cool. Well, I appreciate you coming on. How can people reach out to you and work with you?
Yeah, so you guys can reach me all social media platforms. It is Alexis Morgan Invests. If people need something from me, we have peachstatecapital.com. You can find my email there, alexis at peachstatecapital.com. But we are lending money. We're growing. The fund is growing. So if anyone is interested in investing or putting money with us or even getting a loan, whatever it is, we're here to help. Our team is super fast and super experienced and expertise. So that's how you can get a hold of me. Follow me for more info.
Okay. Is it cool if I put your fractional in the description as well?
Absolutely.
All right. Yeah. So we'll put all those in the description, just to make it easier for everyone to find you.
Sweet. Well, thank you,
Yeah.
John.
Thank you for coming on.